Hi, today as part of our Business Spotlight program, I'm talking to Andrew Rittweger. He's managing partner at Searing Point, and they're based in Dublin. So over to you, Andrew. What is it you do, and how long have you been doing it?
Well, I'm a qualified chartered accountant. I've been doing that for say in excess of 25 years now at this stage, and I originally set up my own practice, which is called Rittweger and Associates, and I'm at Searing Point the last 10 years. Our 10-year anniversary was the end of last year, and I manage a small medium practice in size. We'd have, say, employees wise, we'd have over 30 staff, and we'd have a client range in excess of over 500 clients. And we predominantly specialize in clients in the service industry. We also do some retail and some in the hospitality, but our wheelhouse to say would be in the area of all consultancy and service firms, corporations that operate in Ireland, the UK, and we have a few international clients as well we advise for.
Fantastic. Okay, and you've also been growing quite a bit over that period. What do you attribute your growth to?
Yeah, our growth probably there's two phases of growth where I'd say that we did was one is obviously organic growth where we obviously say our own client base is growing and we're growing with them. Also through their networks and recommendations from our clients to people that say might need an accountant or are looking basically maybe to move to a different advisor. And we get recognition of that. And then obviously say through acquisitions, mergers. Over the last 10 years, um, we've just taken over a couple of smaller practices in the accounting area. One is based here, two are based in North Dublin. And quite recently, we've taken over well, say another small medium practice there. And that'll only happen from the 1st of January this year.
Fantastic. Okay, and you see yourself continuing to grow going forward?
The hardest thing with growth in our industry, because we're in the service industry, is purely down to the people and the expertise you have,
Hmm.
and like I suppose if you're ever acquiring a practice, you're looking at the staff to acquire as well. So at the moment, our project for the next 3 years is to bed down the practice we recently took over. And that's not to say if there's an opportunity or a good deal to be made, you won't take it up. But it's all down to the people that we have to service our clients, because it's one of the things that say we kind of promote here in Searing Point is the service platform that we operate out of, and we don't necessarily grow. We feel that's going to put our current service platform under strain.
Hmm.
So if we were to grow in the future, definitely we'd be just basically making sure that we have the staffing level to do that.
Fantastic. Okay, and I suppose you've touched on some of it, but if you had to start from square one in business, what would you do differently?
Oh, I'd probably be more, as I say, when it comes to say picking your client base, when any business you start off, it's all cash flow driven. You're looking to reach a target, in my view, and unfortunately, saying sometimes you have the luxury of time to wait for the right client to come through the door, and you probably would take certain clients or certain industries that probably you're not too familiar with. So I started from scratch or from day one. I'd probably be a bit more shrewd on the clients that we have, and have that long term outlook with them. And we don't get me wrong, we've done that the last 10 to 12 years for in practice. But initially, when you started out, you probably had a short term view, looking at the cash balance, as opposed to a long term view. Like all our clients now present, they're kind of a similar age profile. They're going through a similar stage in growth. They're building balance sheets that are strong, and their business is strong, and that way we can really kind of give them strong advisor that helps them go to that next step, and further their growth. I'd also, like, when you're in the service industry as well, you're only as good as the people you hire.
Mm, yeah.
And I definitely would basically promote that is to try and get have your HR policy, try and hire the best people you can.
Mhm.
I know sometimes that's cash flow constrained, but that's the main area I definitely would invest in it from day one. I'd be quite happily going to say to a bank or financial institution to borrow to hire good people. Because at Searing Point, we feel that we have plenty of work, plenty of good clients, and we just maintain our client base by definitely promoting by hiring very, very good people to service that.
Yeah, fantastic. That is a theme that comes through a lot on these discussions I'm having with various business owners. You've touched on a good bit of it, maybe apart from what you've said. What have been your biggest learnings as an employer since you began in business?
The biggest learnings is obviously is dealing with people, dealing with clients. This is my opinion now. Like I feel that every qualified accountant has a level of competency that is not necessarily going to be challenged. Challenge I have is probably trying to own the space. In other words, basically trying to become an expert in certain areas, and then obviously promoting that expertise. Marketing, basically saying and making sure you are kind of controlling that space, as I mentioned, is definitely something that basically saying, that is a challenge, and you have to market yourself and promote the firm in a certain way that you'd like to be received and you want to get the clientele you have. Managing people, as I said, you have to be a strong people's person. Depends what role you have in practice. We're lucky in a way that the partners that we all have in Searing Point are very strong people. So whereas we like people, we enjoy relationships. People sort of ask you, what's the greatest satisfaction you get out of practice? It's not solely looking at your bank balance. It's not solely finishing up a set of accounts. To me, it's basically saying helping the clients, having that relationship with the clients in the sense that doesn't compromise your professional service role, but meeting good people out there, seeing them succeed. And I suppose the greatest value I get out of this practice is where you go into clients, you give them some good, strong advice, you help them navigate maybe a solution to an issue they're having. And the fact that they're listening to you and then you see them reaping the rewards, I really enjoy that aspect. I think we all probably basically saying as advisors where the frustration probably comes if you're advising certain clients or certain your client base and you feel that they're maybe not acting as fast or listening to you as they should, and that can be a bit frustrating. But I have to say overall our client base in Searing Point, we're lucky enough that we don't really encounter that too much.
Fantastic. Okay. And I suppose the other one then, what we find with business owners, particularly as SME sector, is that, they tend to be time poor. How do you balance your personal life with the demands of running a business?
Well, that is a challenge in itself, in fairness, and that would be probably a challenge I should have highlighted. It's difficult. I think when you're in SME space, Kevin, I don't know if you ever kind of like you go home and when you close the door into your house, you try and forget everything. But unfortunately, the way the world works and the fact that we're all slaves to technology. And I give it an example. I give you that is the way of doing business. Previously, for example, with any client was sending a letter out, and then maybe 2 weeks you get that letter back. And now everybody sends an email, and they kind of more or less expect a rapid response. And and given the fact that all updates and everything are coming through, I suppose technology streams, you're in email links, you're in portals, you're all the information there comes to you quickly. So I find that in itself presents a challenge that your time can be encroached unless you're very, very disciplined. But we like to be there for our clients, but at the same time, how I kind of manage it is that I make use of the hours that I have during the day. I accept the fact that my desk is always going to be busy, and no matter how hard I work, there's always going to be the desk is nearly fully clear. But once I feel that I'm contributing as best I can to the hours, I can go home and switch off that way. And if there is basically say something that does require urgent attention, like if there's a deadline, we try and basically say work in advance of that deadline as opposed to leaving it last minute. And I accept that say a lot of our clients are not accountants. They do not want to go near their accountancy responsibilities and they might leave it to the last minute. the challenge what we do there is we try and pinch them and pull them over the line in the sense to keep them moving and then that way deadlines don't become too much of a stressful time. They don't encroach in your time too much. And then we encourage our staff to kind of, yes, when you come in here work, but at the same time, I don't like saying, and I'd say this honestly, and the staff will back me up, is that I don't like them basically being a slave to the desk. I try and encourage that they have outside or extracurricular activities that gives them a life outside practice, because that forms them as an individual, and that comes across in service as well.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And again, it's something I promote strongly with my clients. Your business impacts on your personal life, your personal life impacts on the business. If you're burnt out, you're not going to be any good for the business.
Correct. Yeah, and you're right. That's very important. And when people go on vacation, I know employers going, "Oh, staff." I actually encourage them to say, "Go off and enjoy it. You're working hard enough, and definitely take a break, and don't worry about it. Like we have enough staff. We'll cover things. So I agree with you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what qualities do you look for and you probably touched on this already, but look for in employees, and how do you foster a positive and productive work environment?
When it comes to employees, the first thing is I look to see somebody, do they really want to be working here? Do they want the job? And I suppose we're the new generation coming up and saying they won't do anything you don't like. And I suppose my father's generation, Kevin generation for us, a job was, you just got a job, and then that's how you built your life around that job. When I was going to university in DCU, it was more about, well, do something that you feel you have a skill set for. And now I found the next generation coming forward are all about, they won't necessarily do it unless they don't want to do it, unless they want to do it. So that's the first thing I look for, is that one is that they want to work in Searing Point, or they want to work in this employment. Obviously, say you're given the fact when they're applying for it, they have obviously say some accountancy background, or they have a desire to be an accountant. And then number three is people skills. I actually do kind of concentrate on what the outside hobbies are. Are they into sports? Are they not into sports? Do the other things? And they don't have to be sports enthusiasts, don't get me wrong, but I find that basically somebody that kind of has a passion for something, outside of work, it definitely helps them, communicate better, helps them, within the work environment, because they have a release, and they can always go away and release and come back, or reset and come back.
Right. Fantastic. Okay. Interesting stuff. And I suppose maybe just to finish up, what are some common misconceptions about running a business, and how do you address them?
Common misconceptions you have from people that run a business is that it's a great life you have, and God, I'd love to do that. But then I understand there's certain disciplines, like when you run a business, you can't necessarily have a bad day or a bad week. So in the sense, there's probably no sitting back. You always got to drive it, because one of the hardest things about running the business is you can have a fantastic month last month, but you don't, you go, great, that was last month. You always look ahead and say, well, what's coming? And that's the misconception, is that, you're not necessarily saying, kind of, we're in a good space. You're always trying to drive it. And that's why one misconception is that you can never really, in this area, I know we talked about time management there, where you have to leave it and take a break, but you're constantly looking forward. You're constantly working towards a dot in the horizon. You're constantly making sure that if you have a good month this month, well, can we have a good month next month? And you're doing that on the basis. It's not all about just creating wealth for yourself. It's to make sure that, like, we've 30 staff in Searing Point, you're looking after their futures, you're looking after their retirement. And that's one of the misconceptions. It's not just a there and now moment. It's constantly looking ahead. And I don't think people realize that when you go to run a business, that's one of the skills you must have. So in other words, and I'm not going to create a huge divide against, say, someone that doesn't run a business, but if I'm sitting at a desk and I'm contributing per month, I can leave on that Friday and I've done my job. Where, I'd be kind of looking to say, well, we all contributing now. What have we got out? What's coming in? Is there any bad debts? You're looking at the whole peripherals there, and there is a lot involved in that.
Right, right. Listen, Andrew, it's been great talking to you today. There's some great learnings in there, I'm sure, for our audience that are looking at this. And I really appreciate you taking the time out when you are getting off on a break tomorrow.
Well, thank you very much, Kevin. Much appreciated.